ship came from the dark. It was silent, old, and shaped like something not made for living things. It drifted into the edge of Earth's solar systems, slow, calm, and without any power. No lights, no heat, no message, except for one strange signal repeated every 11 seconds. It was a single word. The word was Gavron. That was all. No one understood it. Earth's best scientists, military codebreakers, and even alien allies tried to find the meaning. But the word had no known language, no roots, no pattern. Just Gavron, repeating again and again. In a cold voice that felt older than time itself, people across the world became curious and afraid. News channels called it the word that broke the silence. Religious leaders claimed it was a message from God. Conspiracy groups thought it was the name of an ancient weapon. But no one knew for sure. Earth's United Council decided to send a stealth team to the ship. They called it Operation Black Echo. A team of 5 was chosen: soldiers, scientists, and one language expert named Dr. Lee Mara. She was calm, was careful, and had a strange feeling the word was not just a word, was a warning. When their ship reached the alien structure, they found it massive, larger than anything ever built. It floated just outside Pluto's orbit, untouched by gravity or time. The surface was smooth like black glass, no doors, no lights, just one large symbol carved near the center, the same word, written in strange, glowing lines, Gavron. As the team stepped onto the ship, their suits began to lose signal. Something in the structure blocked all outside contact. Still, they moved forward. The air inside the ship was thin, but breathable. No signs of life, no movement, just long, dark halls and strange shapes that looked like machines but didn't do anything. The walls hummed softly, like they were dreaming. In the middle of the ship, they found a room, circular, silent, at the center. A strange pillar stood almost like a control system. It pulsed with dim blue light. Dr. Lee moved toward it. Her hand touched the pillar. The whole room lit up with symbols. They floated in the air, letters, words, images. And then the voice returned. But this time, it spoke in perfect English. "You are Gavron," it said. The team froze. Their heartbeats echoed in the quiet room. Dr. Lee whispered, "Did it just say, we're Gavron?" The voice repeated louder, clearer, "You are Gavron. Oh, you have returned." Screens lit up, showing ancient galaxies, battles, and ships shaped like Earth's early spacecrafts, except older, much older. Then the pillar sent out a signal, strong, wide, and fast. It left the ship and shot through space. Back on Earth, all satellites and deep space scanners picked it up. Even Mars base received the echo. The signal carried the word Gavron in every known language, spread through the stars like fire. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, a forgotten machine opened its eyes for the first time in 10,000 years. Dr. Lee turned to the others. Her voice shook. "This wasn't a message to us," she said. "It was a message about us." Ship wasn't just calling a name, it was calling a species. And now the whole galaxy would know. The Gavron had returned. The ship had gone silent again, but the message it left behind kept spreading. Across the galaxy, ancient satellites blinked back to life. Forgotten machines, buried deep inside asteroid fields and frozen planets, began to hum. All of them whispered the same word, Gavron.
Oh.
Most alien species did not know what it meant. Some believed it was a myth. The elders of the Bravian Empire trembled when they heard it. One of them stood up in the middle of their council and said just 2 words before collapsing. They're back. On Earth, chaos was growing. News of the alien ship's message had leaked to the public. People were afraid. Some believed it was a trap. Others thought it was a prophecy. The world argued, but the governments acted. Operation Black Echo was ordered to stay inside the alien ship and keep exploring. Dr. Lee Mara, shaken but focused, continued to study the symbols around the pillar. She was joined by Captain Rourke, the leader of the team, and a calm, quiet man named Elias Grant, missions communication expert. Inside the ship, things were changing. Walls that had been solid now moved, forming doors and pathways. Lights followed their steps. The ship was no longer asleep. It was watching them. In one long corridor, the team found ancient carvings, glowing softly. What they showed made everyone stop. Human shapes drawn in alien style were fighting terrible battles. The humans were taller, stronger, and their eyes burned like fire. Behind them, alien armies followed, bowing to their command. One image showed a human, standing above a burning city, with the word Gavarin written beside him. "How could they have pictures of us?" Captain Rourke whispered. "This thing is older than our oldest civilization." Back on Earth, the main Space Command Center received a strange alert. Signal was coming from deep under the Martian surface, from a sealed cave that no one had touched in over 50 years. The message inside was simple. It played in an old Earth language, English, and it said, "The Gavarin have been identified. Prepare for activation." That same night, something even stranger happened. Elias Grant disappeared. One moment he was in the corridor behind the others, the next he was gone. No sound, no struggle. Only his helmet, lying on the floor with the visor still fogged from his breath.
Ow.
The team searched the ship for hours but found nothing. 6 hours. Later, Elias walked back into the control room. He looked different. His suit was torn, but he was unhurt. His voice was calm, too calm, and his eyes glowed faintly blue. Dr. Lee rushed to him. But when she asked where he had gone, Elias only smiled. "I understand now," he said. "They didn't build this ship to attack. They built it to remember." "Captain," Rourke asked, "remember what?" Elias turned to face them. As he said, "They built it to remember the Gavron." The room suddenly shifted. The walls pulled back, revealing a massive star map, systems across the galaxy, blinking red. Ships, fleets, stations, all marked with one word, Gavron confirmed. Somewhere in the dark, something was coming online. Something large. It was heading toward Earth. The ship's walls continued to shift. Revealing more than just history, they were revealing truth. Dr. Lee stood frozen as the star map updated itself in real time. Red dots blinked across the galaxy. Each blink marked a location where the word Gavron had now been confirmed. But what shocked her most was the realization that most of those locations had once been explored by humans, Earth's early probes. Ancient colonies, lost missions, and each of them somehow had left a mark behind, a whisper of something greater that no one had noticed before. Back on Earth, scientists were decoding the symbols transmitted from the ship. They matched none of the known alien languages, yet they could now be translated, but only by human minds. One AI system began showing unusual behavior, its own limits, and started pulling data from deep black files, ancient classified records. And inside one of those files, it found the same word written centuries ago. Gavarin, listed as a term found in lost alien transmissions before first contact. The alien races watching from across space were not silent anymore. Some sent quiet warnings, others sent threats. The Galactic Peace Union called an emergency. Meeting there, the oldest member, a being called Voss Dalen, stood and said, "I was a child when I first heard the name Gavarin. My grandfather told me never to say it out loud. It was the word for the destroyers, the ones who ended empires and then vanished." At the alien ship, Elias Grant had changed even more. His voice carried weight. His steps made the ground vibrate slightly. He remembered things now, not like memories, but like dreams inside. Him waking up, spoke of places he had never visited, of wars he had never fought. "They didn't just remember us," he said quietly. "They feared us." Captain Rourke didn't like it. He ordered Elias to be examined, but the ship wouldn't allow it. Doors would lock when Elias passed. Systems would open only when he was near. Somehow the ship recognized him. Dr. Lee began to suspect the ship wasn't just alien. It might have been built by humans, or something that humans used to be. And then they found the chamber. Hidden deep in the center of the ship, a room opened, walls covered in glowing lines, shaped like neurons, like a brain. Inside was a giant sphere, floating above a platform. When Dr. Lee stepped forward, the sphere spoke. "What do you wish? To know what you were." The room darkened. Images filled the air. Humans, thousands of years ago, stood as giants among stars. They were not monsters. They were protectors. The strength had a cost. When they saw corruption, they erased it. When they saw tyranny, they burned it. Alien species feared them, respected them, followed them. But one day, the Gavran disappeared, vanished without war, without trace. The images faded. The room fell silent. Dr. Lee looked at Elias. "We're not the first," she said. "We're just the ones who forgot." Outside, the alien ship sent out one final signal, not to Earth, but to the galaxy. The Gavan have awakened. Prepare the path. And across the stars, ancient machines began to move. Machines once built for war, now rising again. The galaxy was about to remember what it had spent thousands of years trying to forget. Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. The word Gavran was no longer a mystery, it was a threat. The high clans of Lyroth activated old defense shields that hadn't been touched in centuries. The insectoid Wekari began moving their homeworlds deeper into nebula clouds. And on the far edges of the Trell Dominion, where ancient ruins of a dead empire still floated in pieces, warning lights blinked for the first time in 10,000 years. Every race, every leader, every memory buried in Distal now turned toward Earth, the world where the Gavran had reawakened. On Earth, the truth caused panic. Governments denied everything. News feeds were silenced. But it was already too late. The people had seen the data. They had seen the ship. And some had already begun to whisper the name in fear or awe. A group calling itself the Remembered Flame formed online, saying humanity had been lied to, that their history had been stolen. They believed humans were never just explorers or victims. They were once rulers of stars. Inside the alien ship, Elias Grant was no longer just a man. He walked calmly through the ship as if he had lived there before. Doors opened without. Touch lights bent toward him. He spoke to the walls, and they answered. Dr. Lee and Captain Rourke watched closely, unsure if he was still one of them or something else entirely. Elias began building something in the core room, using tools. The ship provided. He said the galaxy was already reacting. They will come, some to beg, some to kill us. Captain Rourke had had enough. He radioed Earth and requested extraction. But the reply was cold denied. Earth Command had detected unidentified objects, moving toward the planet, dozens of them. Small, fast, not weapons. But drones, observers, silent spies, watching humanity from orbit. Dr. Lee was beginning to understand. She found more data in the ship's memory systems. It told the story of the first Gavran. Not monsters, not saviors, but enforcers. Of balance. When worlds collapsed under greed or war, the Gavran appeared. Not to rule, but to reset. That's why they feared us, she whispered. Not because we were evil, but because we didn't look away. Back on Earth, the Mars Science Colony intercepted a secret transmission between two alien ships hiding behind Jupiter's rings. Their message was clear. Strike before they remember everything. It was a preemptive plan. A fleet was gathering. Earth would be attacked before the Gavran could fully rise. On the alien ship, Leah stood before the others and spoke with clarity. They erased what we were, scattered our truth, turned our name into a curse. He pointed at the ceiling, where the galaxy's map glowed in red. But they forgot one thing. We were never many. Just a few Gavran was enough to shake the stars. Captain Rourke, unsure of what to believe, asked, "What are you now, Elias?" Elias smiled faintly. Not a god, not a weapon, just a memory waking up. In that moment, deep below Earth's surface, an ancient vault that no one knew existed began to open. Machines powered by impossible energy came to life. A single line of glowing text appeared on every secret military screen on Earth. Project Gravemind. Stand by. Then, as the first alien fleet approached Earth's edge, the ancient ship orbiting Pluto fully activated, revealing a gate of light, old technology, older than Earth itself, and through that gate, something was coming. Something built by the Gavran. The gate near Pluto pulsed with cold white light, spinning like the eye of a storm. It wasn't just opening space, it was pulling something through. The ancient alien ship hummed as if it had been waiting for this moment for centuries. On Earth, global defense systems lit up. Generals barked orders, satellites shifted, and the skies filled with fear. But no one fired. Not yet. They were watching, waiting, unsure whether what came next would be salvation or the end. From the gate, a shape emerged, slow, massive, and silent. It wasn't like any known warship. It was dark, like metal grown in shadows. The ship had no visible weapons, but it radiated pressure, as if space itself moved aside to let it pass. It carried no flags, no symbols, only one word across its hull, glowing faintly in a lost language. Dr. Lee translated it at once. The word was remembrance. Inside the alien ship, Elias stood motionless, his eyes glowing brighter. "One of ours," he whispered. From before the forgetting, touched the floor of the ship, and a beam of light connected the two vessels. The new ship responded immediately, its systems awakening, turning toward Earth like a beast called home. The world below reacted with confusion. Civilian networks called it a monster. Others called it a miracle. But Dr. Lee and the others knew what it meant. This was a relic from a time before memory. From a war so terrible that even the stars tried to forget it. The remembrance had returned, and it was loyal only to the Gavran. Across the galaxy, fear reached a boiling point. The alien council that once ruled the most powerful alliance voted to strike Earth. Their plan was simple: destroy the human race before more ancient machines returned. But something stopped them. A signal, a message, short and final. You strike one Gavran, you wake them all. That message did not come from Earth. It came from deep space, from an old war satellite that had just turned itself back on. After 10,000 years, on Earth, debates turned into shouting matches. Some humans wanted to embrace the truth that they were Gavran, children of forgotten giants. Others were terrified, warning that becoming what they were might mean becoming what they had feared. Riots sparked. Military leaders demanded to control the alien ship, but nothing could be done. The ship no longer obeyed Earth. It obeyed Elias. Elias had changed completely now. His voice echoed with something deeper, something not entirely human. "We were not kings. We were not monsters," he said. "We were the answer to chaos." The sword that did not miss. Dr. Lee stepped forward. "But can we be different now?" Elias looked at her, his eyes softening for the first time. "That is why we came back," he said. "It's not to rule, to choose." And then the warning. Came dozens of ships, alien warships, dropped out of hyperspace near the outer rim of Earth's system. They did not respond to calls. They didn't broadcast peace. They were here to finish what fear had started. Earth's leaders prepared to fight. Every space station, every ship, every drone was activated. But none of them fired. They waited for a signal. The signal came from the remembrance. Its engines roared. Light bled from its hull. Voice echoed across every frequency. Earth is under Gavran protection. And with that, the ancient ship launched forward, alone, straight toward the incoming enemy fleet. Humanity watched in silence. The first battle of the remembered war had begun. The remembrance moved like a ghost through space, silent but unstoppable. It left no engine trails, no heat signatures, and yet it crossed the distance to the enemy fleet in seconds. The alien warships, sleek, armed, and numbering over 50, locked onto it, ready to fire. But they hesitated. Something in them remembered. Not as thought, not as logic, but fear. Buried deep in old circuits and older blood, the first strike came anyway. A barrage of plasma and antimatter torpedoes hit the remembrance head-on. For 3 full seconds, nothing was visible. Then through the smoke and fire, the remembrance emerged untouched. Its hull shimmered with something not seen in modern times. Not shields, not armor. Something older. Something alive. Back on Earth, humanity held its breath. The ship sent no commands. It didn't ask for help. It didn't need it from its sides. Ancient weapons extended long, elegant, and quiet. They didn't glow. They didn't charge. They simply pointed. And then space bent. The nearest enemy ship folded in half, crumpling without explosion. Another one vanished, gone, not destroyed, just erased from time. The rest broke formation, panicked. Some tried to flee. Others opened fire with everything they had. None of it mattered. The remembrance wasn't a ship. It was judgment given shape. Inside the alien vessel near Pluto, Elias watched with calm eyes. The light in his skin now pulsed gently, as if matching the rhythm of the remembrance. Dr. Lee stood beside him, unable to speak. She knew they had passed a line. The galaxy had watched. The enemies of Earth had tasted a power they thought was dead. And now, every eye would turn toward humanity. They were warned, Elias said softly. We gave them a choice. Captain Rourke spoke for the first time in hours. And what choice do we have, Elias? Do we become what they feared again, Elias? Turned to him. We never were monsters, Captain. We were the fire used to burn rot away. But the galaxy forgot that. They turned our silence into legend. And now they expect us to be the nightmare they created in their minds. He looked at the glowing map again. The red dots were changing. Some were going dark. Others were blinking faster. Messages were being sent. Alliances forming. Armies waking up. Dr. Lee stepped forward. Then what now? Elise touched the floor of the alien ship, and the ceiling above them lit up with a new symbol, one never seen before. A human hand holding a torch. We choose what the Gavron mean this time, he said. We are not their fear. We are their reminder. As the last enemy ship exploded in silence, the remembrance returned to its place near Pluto. It powered down, its weapons vanishing. It had done its part. It had defended Earth. Without pride, without rage. Just duty. Across the galaxy, reactions were swift. Some races sent ambassadors. Hands raised in apology. Others hid, praying they weren't next. But a few, a dangerous few, began to gather in secret. Building, arming, swearing they would not live under human shadow again. The war was not over. It had just been remembered. Back on Earth, children looked at the stars differently, not with fear, but with something else. Hope, because now they knew. They were Gavron, and the galaxy would never forget that again. The stars had changed. Since the return of the remembrance, the galaxy had gone quiet, not peaceful, but watchful. Alien fleets pulled back. Council worlds fell silent. Broadcasts that once carried prideful words of dominance now only whispered. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy remembered the Gavron, and they were not myths anymore. On Earth, leaders scrambled to build peace from fear. 1,000 voices argued whether Elias Grant should be praised or locked away. But none could deny what he had done. Alone, he had spoken for humanity to the stars. He had awakened a power that turned war fleets into dust. Yet Elias did not stand tall. He did not claim victory. He returned to the ancient ship and sat in silence, watching the gate. Dr. Lee Mara walked beside him. They think we'll conquer them, she said. They're wrong, Elias replied softly, but they're also not stupid to be afraid. The remembrance waited quietly above Pluto, like a sleeping god that answered only when justice called. But deeper still, beneath Earth's crust, Project Gravemind continued to wake. It was not a weapon in the usual sense. It was knowledge, memory, a collection of who humanity once was, stored in machines so advanced they had to be forgotten. Just to survive, one by one, Gravemind began to open its secrets in one hidden chamber. Dr. Lee and a few trusted scientists discovered ancient logs not just of battles but of alliances. Times when the Gavaran saved species from extinction, helped rebuild. Shattered worlds protected the weak. The galaxy had only remembered the fire. But there had been mercy too. Elias stood before a quiet crowd on the moon's Europa base. His voice was projected across Earth and beyond. "You have been told we were monsters," he said. "That we burned without reason, that our name meant destruction. But the truth is, we were guardians. It's made not from purity, but from pain. It's built not to rule, but to choose when others could not." He raised his hand toward the stars. "We do not want empires. We want peace. But if the stars choose war again, we will answer." Across the galaxy, that speech played in every system. Some heard it as a warning. Others heard it as a promise, but not everyone accepted it. In the darkness between galaxies, a new fleet was forming. Old enemies of the Gavran, awakened by fear and hatred, prepared in silence. They believed the Gavran were weak now. It's a kind. Too human. They planned to strike, not just at Earth, but at everything humans had touched. But the galaxy had changed. This time, Earth was not alone. Messages arrived from unlikely places. A mining colony in the Threx Belt offered its drones for defense. A former enemy world near Orion declared loyalty to the Gavron name. Even species once terrified of humanity now reached out not to serve, but to stand beside them. The Gavron were no longer a forgotten legend. They were a living symbol of strength, choice, of balance. Elias Grant, now quiet and fading from public sight, left one final message before vanishing into the stars aboard the Remembrance. The Gavron are not a race. They are a responsibility. When the stars cry out again, we will return. And so, the ship passed through the gate one final time, disappearing into the dark. Some say it waits in the void, others say it watches still, but all across the galaxy, from burning suns to frozen moons, one truth remains. The word Gavron now means human, and no one dares forget that again.